Welcome to the Angel and the Advocate podcast. I, of course, am the advocate. Sitting across from me is...
Angel.
Yeah, very well done, Angel. Congratulations. Yeah, applause button. There it is. Nice. All right, so on this week's episode, I thought, I don't know if you caught that Monday Night Football game. By any chance, did you see the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Sea Chickens?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I you don't correct me. Like, wait, what? No, I like the Fighting Pete Carrolls. Obviously, a USC guy myself. I like to call them the Fighting Pete Carrolls, and I don't think I root for them necessarily, but I definitely don't root against them because of the Pete Carroll thing. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is I know that you have worked for your family business for just about most of your life. Have you ever worked for any other company? Have you ever worked anywhere else, like a formal job where you're paid by the actual company or by the employer with a paycheck and it's not your family?
Not really.
No. The whole time you've been in the family business?
Yeah, in different family businesses, but yeah.
Okay, so those different family businesses, though, they all kind of work together? They're all teammates, or is there competition amongst them? What is that like?
No, it's all like a collective, like we work together.
See, that makes sense because they're a family, right?
Yeah.
So you, just by nature of having always worked in your family business, you avoided that awkward feeling that Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, I'll say it right now, right? The quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, he left, right? So I should say, former quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. He left the Seahawks and joined the Denver Broncos. I think technically he was traded. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, because the NFL gods are brilliant, the very first Monday night game is Russell Wilson as the new quarterback of the Denver Broncos facing off against the Seattle Seahawks. And why do I bring this up? I bring this up because effectively Russell Wilson, he used to work for the Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
Now he works for the Denver Broncos, right? They are competitors, and Russell Wilson had to go back and see all of his former teammates.
Yeah, former coach, fans, everything.
Absolutely. And as much as you and I think, well, that's just an experience of the NFL, well, the reason I bring this up is I think this is an experience that everyday people have as well. A lot of people work at maybe one business and then, they don't move town when that job ends. Maybe they quit. They don't like working there. Maybe they get a better job offer somewhere else, whatever it is. Whatever leads to the transition, it doesn't really matter for purposes of what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is everyday people like Russell Wilson, right? I don't know if he's an everyday person, but
yeah, he's very basic.
Well, I think he just signed like a quarter billion dollar NFL contract, so it's hard to say like everyday people. But my point is just to say, regular everyday people, they have jobs, they leave those jobs, they get new jobs, and they inevitably kind of run into their former employer. They run into their former co-employees or their coworkers, right? Things like that. People that maybe they used to see on the regular basis, maybe even were friendly with. And now they don't see them so much. And I kind of found it interesting at the end of that game. I don't know. You're an NFL fan, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You like the...
LA Chargers.
Oh, yeah. They're still an NFL team? Okay, sorry.
I'm one of like 7 fans out there.
I don't have a team, so I just talk trash about everybody. Yeah. Obviously, I root for my USC Trojans. They maybe are back to looking professional, but they're definitely a college team.
Yeah, they're definitely back.
Yeah, they're okay. That's a whole different podcast. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I think regular people have that experience. And at the end of the football game, you got to see Russell Wilson right there live on TV, overhead camera, right? When he comes to the middle of the field to like shake hands, who's there? Pete Carroll, his former coach, his former, I don't know if you call it mentor, but, right-hand man, quarterback and head coach.
He drafted him. He kind of molded him.
Went to the NFL, Super Bowl together, won a Super Bowl together, right?
He lost Pete Carroll's Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then so he went and, they kind of had a very quick, goodbye, hey, bye. That's it. Just high five, handshake, quick bro hug, see you later. Then he gave a bro hug to Geno Smith, his former backup quarterback, the guy who he trained to do his job, if you will, right? Yeah. Who's now today doing his old job. Geno Smith used to be his backup, now is doing the job himself. They had a quick little bro hug, very quick. And then I think he looked around to see, hey, where are all my other old coworker friends? There was nobody there. And I think this is something that I see this in talking to different people when they're changing jobs, when they're transitioning, especially when they don't change careers. When they just change jobs, they then effectively become a competitor. Or, maybe my situation, they open up their own business in that same field, and now they're a competitor to the very people who they used to work hard to make successful. And I thought it was an amazing little opportunity to see, on an NFL scale, something that, regular everyday people go through as well. Of course, we don't have $250 million from our new job. At least most of us don't. I don't, that's for sure. And so maybe it's a little bit different, but the money alone isn't enough to get rid of that awkward feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've always worked for your family business. Do you ever hope to open, like, I mean, maybe I'm giving away some secrets here, but do you ever think about opening up your own tile, like Angel's division of some business?
As far as the towel business, I don't think so. Maybe I do want to do more businesses when in regards to that's what I'm doing with the music, videography, even podcasting. I guess technically is a business. It could turn into a business, but I don't think I would go and open my own like tile.
Well, that's probably a good idea. You don't want to compete with. I think as you said, it's your dad who's the founder, right?
Yeah, my dad and my brother are the founders,
Yeah,
like co-founders. But then I'm running the company, so it's like I'm competing against myself.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, sure. Plus, when it's a family business, it's also very different because you don't ever really want to. At least most of us don't want to burn the bridges associated with our family, right?
Yeah.
But like in the regular world, if push comes to shove and you get a better opportunity, you're going to take that better job. Like maybe if your music stuff takes off, do you think it would be difficult for you to like leave the family business? Like, do you know anything about the King and the Sting podcast? Do you know anything about that podcast?
Theo Von and I know. Yeah. And
so did you hear recently Theo Von is like stepping down from the podcast? Not the podcast itself is not important. What matters is that they have this thing together.
Yeah.
And now one of them is so busy. At least this is my interpretation of it. Mm-hmm. One of them is so busy that they have no choice. They have to cut something.
Yeah.
And so they're cutting this, even though it's like maybe the baby that first started things. So like I look at you in the same light, right? If the Desert Underground thing takes off, like really takes off to a point where you're unable to put in the time at OC Granite and Tile.
Yeah.
Have we thought about what would happen right there? Are we going to be letting down?
It's definitely in my mindset because I know
that's your goal, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to pursue the music.
Well, okay. So your goal is not to leave OC Tile hanging. I don't mean it like that. Of course not.
No, I'm just going to take off tomorrow.
No, of course not. That's not what I mean. But I'm saying your goal is not necessarily to get rid of OC Tile, but your goal is to make the music thing so big and such a central part of your life, if you will, that is your job, right?
Yeah.
And if that becomes your job, inevitably you won't be able to do everything anymore.
Yeah.
Something will have to.
Well, I will have to outsource or hire somebody to replace me. Or
I feel like I'm freaking you out right now. You okay, Angel? Something you haven't really worried about yet? I mean, if you think about it, you're actively taking steps to make this Desert Underground something big. When's the next one?
The next one is on Friday. It's a small one on Friday. So
it's coming up.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
The 21st of October is a big one.
If you're putting this much time and effort into the Desert Underground thing, and if it hopefully, like I said, rooting for you, it gets traction, this is a problem you're going to run into. So maybe it's not exactly the same as Russell Wilson because he got traded, right? And different. But I think this is something that a lot of people don't think about. You actively are taking steps to improve yourself, to maybe take the next step in your career. But when it comes time to take that step, you're going to have to leave behind what you're currently doing. And that's why I brought up the King and the Sting, is because that to me is what's happening. It's a great podcast. I'm not a regular listener or anything, don't get me wrong, but I know the story, right?
Yeah.
And I know the people that are on it for their other entertainment endeavors. But it seems to me like Theo Von has to leave because he's got too many other big things going. Yeah. So you got to cut something.
Yeah, you can't do all of it. I mean, your time, like you can only dedicate so much time to everything, I've been working with like not really putting so much effort into like what the next step would be, but I'm definitely thinking of potential people that I need to train or somebody that I need to hire to help me manage more of the towel business if it eventually does lead that way.
When do you do that? When do you decide to hire that person? At what point do you think is that transition moment?
Well, I have to start making some good money from the music scene.
Sure.
Yeah. So if let's say the channel blows up, because there's different ways to make money when it comes to music. So I'm not even an artist, but there's ways to make. So the YouTube channel, then there's this podcasting, which is kind of like we're interviewing artists and then they're performing at shows. And then we're selling tickets at shows. There's different ways to make the money from there. But if I get consistent shows, revenue from YouTube, sponsors and ad revenue, when I start seeing something that the way I would do it is if it's enough money that I'm currently making with the towel business, like what are you supplementing your check? Or
I get it.
Yeah.
You're taking your side hustle, and when the side hustle makes enough money to replace the main hustle, then you'll slowly let the side hustle replace the main hustle.
Yeah.
So when that money starts coming in, you'll start to worry about it then. I mean, that's kind of the idea.
Kind of the idea, yeah.
That I think that's exactly right. And for all the people listening right now that maybe have a job that they're in and then it's something they do on the side, that's how you do it. When does your side hustle become your main hustle? When it becomes your main hustle.
Yeah.
When the side money starts to grow and become similar to, if not more than, the main money. The moment, whatever is the more money, that's the main hustle all of a sudden. Right? I mean, a lot of people think, well, I spend more time doing the other thing. Well, it doesn't matter where you spend your time, believe it or not. Where you get your money, that is actually your main hustle, right? So I think what you're doing is the right thing. Again, I mean, I started off with the Russell Wilson thing, mostly talking about what it's like to leave an employer for a new employer and then looking back, right, at like the place you used to work, your former, I mean, I don't want to say former friends, but your former friends, right?
Basically.
The people that you went from the daily to not on the daily, and then now they're your competitors. But slowly our conversation has sort of twisted into more of like a stepping stone, right? Like what you actually do to elevate your side hustle kind of into your main hustle. I don't think Russell Wilson's side hustle is being the quarterback for a different team, right? It's not exactly the same, right? But I think generally speaking, like everyday people have that experience. And I think you can learn something that it's not just you that feels like, hey, my old coworkers don't talk to me the way they used to, or I thought these people were my friends and now they're not. It's not just you. I mean, all the way up to an NFL quarterback, leader in the locker room, like right there for everybody to see, quite frankly, it's a pretty normal experience. Your friendship, the thing you have in common is the success of the business. And when that goes away, so do all the other things. And so I think that's more of what I was getting at with Russell Wilson. Where we're getting at with you is more along the lines of when that side hustle starts to become your main hustle, you're going to have to replace yourself. Mm-hmm. And in your situation, maybe it's even a little more awkward because it's a family business, unless you have another brother we haven't talked about.
No.
that you're going to slide into the spot, right? So then chances are that it's not going to be, I mean, I shouldn't say chances are, it's almost certainly not going to be a family member. It's going to be a true third party, a stranger, dun, dun, dun. But I mean, eventually they'll start working for the betterment of the business just the same way you do. And you'll look back at them and from your, I don't know, front seat of your Bentley. What are we talking about as a heavyweight music guy? God willing or whatever. But
if I ever make it in the music, I get a red Porsche.
This guy, trash talker. It takes a lot more than making it in the music industry for a red Porsche. Wink, wink. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of Angel and the Advocate. Is there anything else you want to say, Angel?
Just pursue your side hustles. And the whole grudge is like if you move from one business to another, or you leave one job to the next, it's like those people are not like, they don't want to be now your friends, but it's like they're still worried about their life and they're dealing with your own work. Now you can make new friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it like this. If your friendship is based on the job and then you leave the job, you can't be surprised if the friendship erodes because the friendship is based on the job and you took that thing away. Mm-hmm. But if you're actually friends, if you have things in common besides the job, if the job is how you met and then you became friends separate from that, maybe like they're a Chargers fan for Pete's sake, right? Something ridiculous like that, then maybe you have a friendship beyond the work. So when you leave the work, you have a real friendship left behind. And of course, I join with you saying, keep hustling on the main hustle, keep hustling on the side hustle, and tune in to the next episode of Angel and the Advocate.
Thank you for listening to this Angel and the Advocate podcast. If you have any questions, submit them in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.